Hey, Living Your Life Without Limits family, this is your girl, Shannon Jackson, your resident host, and I'm excited today to talk to you about estate planning, and none other than attorney Maria Primushko that will be joining me today for this special topic. Stay tuned.
Wake up everybody, let's elevate your mind. Live your life without limits, no more wasting time. Don't forget to stay focused while continuing to stay on the grind. Keep your vision real tight, then your future be bright until the finish line.
Maria, thank you so much for being with us again. It's been almost a year since you were last here. And do you not know a lot has changed then? I know you do. When we started, the COVID was just rolling out the last time you were here on the show. It hadn't really gone into full bloom. We weren't in lockdown, but everything was moving. But now we're fully in lockdown. And we saw what happened with COVID and many tragedies that happened. People lost their lives. People lost so much during that time and not really prepared. So it was very important that we bring you back on the show so that we can talk about having that peace and preparation. So talk to us about what you have seen from this and how it's impacted lives and how you're helping people.
Of course, Shannon. Yes. First of all, I want to thank you for another opportunity to spread the word, because my objective is to educate people and to explain the necessity, what to look after for, what to do to make sure that they have peace of mind and their families and assets and themselves are protected. So the past year, as you said, was very challenging. Ups and downs a lot. After our meeting last time, I had huge plans, like many of us did.
Yes.
Explaining again, spreading the word.
Yes.
Speaking arrangements, and everything was halted. One of the good things that COVID brought up is people's awareness about necessity of planning.
What I found that happened is COVID exposed weaknesses that we had. And in the area of financial planning and estate planning and being prepared for the unknown and protecting ourselves and our loved ones, because people just unfortunately died suddenly and didn't have things in place, in motion. So I think that that's what happened. So tell me what you have begun to do to help people in this process.
Exactly. So people suddenly realize that they're mortal and that life can happen at any time and strike at any time and place, and age doesn't matter anymore, unfortunately. Yes. So people started scrambling what to do, what should I have done? Because the sad calls that I receive when it's too late. When older people, for example, parents are at the hospital already, and no documents, no plans have been executed. Children hectically trying to come up with solutions, and often there are none, because before COVID era, I could go to the hospital with my notary, talk to the even dying person, express their wishes, put it on paper, they could sign, and we could notarize. Now everything is locked.
You can't get in.
I can't get in.
And if you didn't have a written authority or a designee, they couldn't talk to you on the phone either.
They wouldn't talk to me on the phone. The last resort, going to court, ask for the conservatorship, and it's expensive. Court closures, it drags for a long period of time. So, and people, it's nothing left to do. We can't, our hands are tied. So people started acting because they see their neighbors, they see their relatives either dying or being in the hospital, not being able to do anything.
So, very good point you brought that up. It just seemed like everything was a halt, and I heard about the courts even being closed, where cases were just pending and no one can get through. So, fast forwarding now to 2021, because there's still a lot of people that haven't planned. Talk to us now that, okay, we're in COVID, but there's a plan to try to get us through this process. But for the individual that haven't started, it's not too late, right?
Today is the day.
Today is the day. So walk us through what we need to do now in order to make sure we are secure and prepared, not just for COVID, but just for life. And making sure, like you said, we have peace of mind and our loved ones have peace of mind, and there is not that stress. Because what I have found also, not only did COVID expose people's weaknesses, it exposed vulnerability within families because there was no plan. So families did a lot of this, a lot of fighting, a lot of inward fighting and accusing each other, or everyone's lawyering up, or you understand what I'm saying, or battles that took place that instead of people coming together and healing for the loss of the person, it brought a further division. So we really don't want that to happen. So that's why you're here, to help us prevent those things. And I want our listening and viewing audience to understand planning makes a big difference, not only in planning for a trip or planning for a vacation or planning for a function, but really planning for things to happen in an event you're unable to take care of those things yourself, or when you're gone from here, what you want and having your wishes. So this is an important part of life, is having estate planning. So walk us through it now.
Well, let me start with this. One of the, mottos of my firm is here: your family's future depends on the decisions you make today. You're right about planning, and most people do plan. Most people think about the necessity. Okay, we have to create documents. We have to have a plan, but they don't go any further than planning. They have in their agenda to-do list. Sometimes it's New Year's resolutions. Here's what I have to do, but usually it's not on the top of the list. Mm-hmm. And with usually losing weight comes first.
Yeah, exactly.
But so the most dreading thing is procrastination.
Yes.
People know that they have to do something and they fail to.
I call it, procrastination is a thief of time. That's what I call it. That's my own.
Because the issue doesn't go away. It's still on your mind. So it's you're carrying this weight of guilt sometimes that I have to do it, but you never get to actually act on it. And most of the time I start conversations with my client: what caused you to come here? What suddenly happened that you realized, yes, I have to do something. I have to have this call and start the process. And 95% response, I've been thinking about it for years. I'm like, why would you think about it for years? Just you make a decision and you act on it and it's done.
Don't you find, I think what I find is that people are fearful because they feel this says or speaks to them as death, when it's really not, because some of it is not even in death. You can literally still recover, but if you're too sick or lack capacity for whatever reason, due to an injury or trauma or a temporary situation, and you cannot execute business on your behalf, you need somebody to do that, and you need to have somebody in a decision-making seat, even though this is temporary. So I really find that fear drives a lot of that, because the first thing people comes is that you're trying to tell me I'm going to die, and I'm not going to die. And it's really bigger than that.
Bigger than that, as you've mentioned, business owners, they do everything for their business, for their families, but they fail to protect themselves, and that's the next very important step. So especially when there are partners involved in business.
Yes.
What I found throughout my experience is partners usually last at least half a year, not more, supporting family.
Yeah.
Then suddenly they stop answering calls, they stop sending checks to the family, etc., and they do their, well, unfortunately, that's human nature, I guess. So it is your, you have to, as a business owner, as a family man or woman, it doesn't matter, protect yourself and the future of yourself, your business, and your family. So continuation is important. Right now I have a case where a young man, suddenly died and left business, family, with nothing. Poor wife doesn't know what to do, where to run. Now we have to go through probate. Another case of my dear friend of 20 years, my personal friend. I begged her to do the estate plan. Of course, I offered it for free because she's my friend.
Yeah.
And she felt, she's like, next time, sometime, maybe later. So she suddenly passed away. And now I'm handling their probate case. I'm helping kids. Again, I'm going to do it for free, but why?
And that's years and years sometimes. It can be logged in probate. I mean, years.
There is no need. It is so unnecessary and so frustrating for me. As an estate planning and probate attorney, I make much more money in administering probate case. Because as I've mentioned last time, if you go to probate, that's when you don't have living trust. It takes, the whole process takes 25 to 35% out of the whole estate, to all kinds of costs. Let's say it's $1 million estate, and it's not. It's I personally would get like around 50,000. Of course, I'm good with that, but I don't want that. I would rather, because I don't like experiencing people going through this machinery, gears of court system. It's confrontational, even when they're good families and happy and love each other. When they're set up with this government system, it is, they have no choice of becoming confrontational, suspicious, you know.
And
it's
the mental
so
stress it puts
mental
you through.
stress, financial stress, everything else. So it's totally unnecessary.
So what's in the folder that we need to know about in order to really hone this in on? I do want to say that thank you very much. I know there's some happy clients that from the last episode that you were on.
Your clients are awesome.
Yeah,
I love them all.
they,
and good families and happy.
Yes, and they actually reached out. And we'll talk a little bit more about what Maria's going to offer again today. And they were able to get their ducks in a row and get their things secure, and they feel much more comfortable that they're in a better place. So I thank you for that and bringing that information and bringing that help to some of our viewers that much needed it. But tell us now, what is it that we must do in this time? Because I really want to hone in to the listeners and viewing audience that this is something, just like I said, that as you plan everything else in your life, it is so important. And don't think of it as just my final exit or my passing, but think of it as protection, that even if you're in a position where you're unable, for whatever reason, to make those decisions and you need someone to step in on your behalf, it's important that you have this information. So what is that again? Because we have new people now watching us. We have over 10,000 people.
Congratulations on that.
When we first started, as you brought out, it was how many?
1,200.
1,200 people. So we started from the bottom and we're raising up. All right. So we got more people that need to hear this information.
Thank you so much for that powerful introduction. So let's categorize possible people. Let's take young families now with no assets.
Yes.
Just people think I need an estate, multi-million-dollar estate to plan something. No. So let's take young families. Let's say husband, wife, or single parent with a child, living in an apartment, having a job. You have to have planning, because should something happen to you, especially if there's a single parent involved, what happens to the child? People think, hey, my mom, my cousin, my sister will come in, get the child. No, Child Protective Services will come, and it takes family members up to half a year to take the child out of the government Child Protective Services and back to the family. And again, with all the court closures, it takes even longer. So you have to have a will package that says, should something happen to me in a case of death or in case of just incapacity? Okay, mother is taken to the hospital. Who takes care of child? Again, we don't want some good men and women in uniform come in and take them. Of course, they'll be taken care of, but why to put this additional stress on a child? So for that purpose, you need a will package that will say who takes care of child and my whatever I was able to acquire up to this point of my life, what happens to it? Second, we'll take older people without estate again. So older people who probably on SSI didn't make a lot of money throughout the year. Things happen, or so they live on SSI, maybe in rented unit or somewhat or whatnot. They need at least package for their ancillary forms, which is power of attorney, healthcare directive, and HIPAA form. Actually, every single person needs that as a nurse, you know that. Yeah. So in case something happens to you, you're sick, you're ill, you're at the hospital, you appoint somebody else to step in and take action on your behalf, making financial, legal, and medical decisions. Right now, today, I receive a call from a lady saying, hey, my father is at the nursing facility and he has Parkinson's and I need power of attorney. I can't. Even if I go, sometimes I do, if person is still there and I can attest to the capacity, I would go to the nursing facility. We stay behind the window. I see the person in bed. We speak over the phone, and I talk to them, say, hey, this is your decisions. This is what you want to do. They say yes. I go back. I prepare forms. Then we go back. We send it to the facility documents. I watch them signing. Then notaries send their journal, watch them signing. So we can do it at least if it's possible sometimes. But again, why wait until person is there?
And now a lot of them aren't letting you in.
Most won't. So
can't get in.
If it's just a convenience, that person is behind the window and it's just happened that way. So next step, business owners. That's huge. You guys, you can't not have a plan. You have your business plan, right, for your business. So you have to plan for your business and everything that you were able to acquire. Again, something happens to you, illness or death, your loved ones, your business are in jeopardy.
And I want to emphasize, this is not just for huge businesses, small businesses as well. Because a lot of people, again, I think with it thinking, well, I have to have this big business, but if you're an entrepreneur and you have a small business and this is of value to you.
Moreover, it's more important for smaller business than for larger business, because bigger businesses, they're corporate, structured, all kinds of legal documents, attorneys hired to protection. Smaller businesses, it's on a napkin or handshake agreement with your partner.
Yes.
That something happens to you, he turns his back on you, or her, whatever. Yes, and it happens all the time, especially with close partners and family members, unfortunately. But so my idea, so I create plan and document for the particular family.
So it's customized.
So customized.
Based on your situation.
Based on your personal situation. Okay. Another mistake that people make is that they price shop. I understand now money is important. Not everybody can afford proper anything, but from my perspective, it's better not to spend any money at all, because for the past year, I had several cases going to probate with huge portfolio. They executed documents, but they mean nothing. They were done somewhere and around the corner with paralegal, and unfortunately, people think they're protective. We signed, everything's good, but it's just a piece of paper.
That's a very good point that you brought up. So, because some people may have already had some documents done, but what if they're not sure if their documents are correct? So do you look at those too and maybe amend or create an amendment or something if it's something like that? Because that's very important, because sometimes people do. You have documents and maybe you get another person look at them.
I review documents on regular basis, and sometimes they're perfectly fine. If it's a living trust, it's called living because it lives with you. So as your life expands and it continues and changes, this document has to be amended properly. So I do review them. If it's a good document, I talk to you what your wishes are. If it reflects what you want and what you have right now, I'm telling you that's perfectly fine, you're good to go. But most often I have to say that changes are needed.
And just to sum that up, with the living trust, as you mentioned now, for people to understand, that can be changed. It can be amended. As long as you are living, you can modify it as things modify in your life. So say you were married and then later on you got divorced, you want to switch things around, you can do that, or vice versa. You were single and you got married, or people passed that were powers of attorney. So it can constantly move and change as your life moves.
Exactly.
Okay. Give the difference before we close this off of a will and a living trust. Who should have a will versus a living trust? We talked about it before, and I want to bring it in today. One more thing before we.
I just recorded my little short video about that. That's the most often question I've been asked. If you look at the board, it just says trust and will difference.
Yes, yes.
So yes, most people, when asked about estate planning, most people first thing is that, oh, I have to create a will, because we all read all classical books, watched movies, and people, and how you can draw a will on a napkin somewhere at the bar, and it's gonna be good. Yes, it is good, but if there is a will, there is probate. A will simply gives a judge an idea how you wanted to administer your estate. What heirs did you name, who you decided to disinherit, or what shares you wanted to give to each particular heir or beneficiary. And however, when there is a probate process, anybody can jump in and say, hey, this person promised me $30,000, or here's a contract that he owes me. Now you have to spend all this time and money to see if it's a real contract. Evidentiary hearings, if this person really was promised the amount they did. So it's time-consuming, expensive. Living trust, it's a magical creature. And so basically you create this document, it's an agreement between you and you as trustee, you as grantor or trustor, and you as trustee, that say we separate everything from my name and put it into the name of living trust. And it's separate. Now, should something happen to you, you don't need probate. If person got ill, you don't need to go to probate court and ask for conservatorship. Everything is written in. Who will step in and take charge? For example, you have 3 kids. One is a whiner, one is the business person, one is the drug addict. Things happen. It happens. So if there is no trust, you don't know who court will appoint. Maybe a business person wouldn't want to do anything with you, or so they will appoint a drug addict to administer your estate, and they will take everything. But you, as being in charge of your life, you can be in charge of your future life. You say, hey, something happens to me. This person steps in, manages my business. This person steps in, managing my personal affairs. That could maybe a wife. So she doesn't know anything about business, so you can appoint somebody else. So you put the terms. And in case of death, again, you don't need probate. You don't spend any money. You just look at the document, at your agreement, and say, hey, this and these terms have to happen. And basically, any person with basic high school degree can administer the trust with a very little help. Right. So you don't even have to spend money on attorneys to finalize it. Sometimes when it's more comprehensive and more serious, then yes. But otherwise, everything is done securely, within family, Neighbors don't know about it. It's not public. When there is a will and probate court, everything's public. Everybody will
And
know.
you hear about a lot of, interesting enough, a lot of successful, famous people end up in probate court. You hear about everything. The states is all kind of things.
What frustrates and surprises me a lot, when celebrity passes, you know if they had a plan or not, because if you hear it in People magazine discussing or on TMZ, you know, court appearances, you know, oh, they didn't have a will, trust or any estate plan executed. And when you don't hear anything, that means they had their documents properly. But what surprises me, all the celebrities, they have armies of attorneys. But those attorneys care about themselves, I guess, just the contracts where they can make money. They do not protect their clients. A lot of this with public figures such as actors and sportsmen. It is so sad to see when these guys, and they need guidance, because for artistic people or people in sports, it's up and down. You know, you make money, then you have no money, and oftentimes they end up broke. And it's totally unnecessary. You just need the right person to steer you in the right direction.
That's why we have your expertise.
Yes.
That's why we have your. So as with
well, I just wanted to say, there is no plan is actually a plan. I mean, if you decide that, hell, I don't want to create any plan, and I want to look from up there and see how my family being frustrated, fights, and going to court spends money. That if that is your choice, then that's your plan. So, but it has to be informed decision. You have to intentionally want it to happen, because you know.
Teach them all a lesson. Y'all figure it out. I'm gone. You figure it out.
Yes, some people do.
A lot of people do, unfortunately.
But if it's then,
So as we're bringing this important topic to a close, if there was one thing that you want to make sure that the listeners and our viewing audience get, what would that be that you want them to really grab hold to make this message stick? Because it's very important. What would that be that you would say to them?
Act now. Your family's future depends on decisions you make today. So whatever you decide now, it is today, because tomorrow is never promised. We don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. So act now and make sure your family's future is protected and you have peace of mind about your assets, your family, the future of your family, and about yourself. And stop thinking about it anymore. You know, just do it and stop thinking about it.
Just do it.
Just do it, yes.
All right, and one of the things I want to let you know, Maria is also going to offer, again, 25% discount for, is it a month that it runs, the discount? She's going to make it 2 months this time. So it lets you know she's very committed to seeing everyone have a plan in place. So you not only get 25% using the LYLWL code. So Maria is going to offer 25% to all the Living Your Life Without Limits viewers and listening audience. So all you simply need to do is use the LYLWL code and call in to her office and make a consultation appointment. You will not be disappointed. And thank you once again for joining us for this important episode. I want to also thank our guest, Maria, our special attorney talking about estate planning. And remember, family, to love yourself, take care of yourself, because guess what? You are absolutely worth it.